Hello, everybody. Intuition here. Thank you, as always, for making time and space for us. Today, we would like to discuss dimensional beings. Not the dimensional beings outside of you, but the term when somebody says, I'm a 10th dimensional being, I'm a 5th dimensional being, I'm a 7th dimensional being from the city of Asgard and Palladia and Venus and Mars. That is what I know. That is what was channeled to me, that was channeled through me, that is what I believe to be so. And when you ask somebody what that really means, nobody really understands what the hell that actually would mean, what that requires, or what's really being said when somebody would say, I'm a 10th, 11th, 12th, 7th dimensional being. So we would like to give some light on that. We'd like to enlighten the enlightened. So before we go into that, it is important to understand the duality of yourself. Though it doesn't seem related, we promise you that it is. The duality of yourself. You have duality. There's three of everything. Everything is in threes, yes? And the duality that exists, the opposite poles, the negative, the positive, the neutron, the proton, all of that is the extremes of each other, and then there is the balancing between both of those extremes, right? So the three, the Holy Trinity, three is a magic number, all of those things. That is why. So the duality within yourself is really about the universal principality that you are, yes? Because the duality within yourself, depending on that universal principality that you identify with, you have two different sides of you. If you identify as intuition, the positive, if you want to call it positive, would be the intuitive side, whereas the negative would be the doubt side. If you identify as resistance and resilience, well, the negative would be resistance, the positive would be resilience, and so on and so forth as you go on in all of the 7 universal principalities that exist. So you have two opposing opposites, and the idea is to go into balance, because when you go into balance with both of those things, you become a master. You are not leaning too far to the left, you're not leaning too far to the right. You are a master of both of those opposing sides, and you are able to come into an equilibrium, a harmonic within yourself. So when people talk about I'm a 10th, 11th, 12th dimensional being, let us remind you that there's nothing, when somebody says that that is happening outside of you, because the idea is I'm a 10th dimensional being from X, Y, and Z, and that enables me to do X, Y, and Z. But that would imply that there's an evolution going on outside of you. And if you are any of those beings, what that really means is that you've mastered on some level a certain level of your opposing frequencies, your opposing opposites. So that would mean, again, I am in the 7th ring of mastery within the idea of what is happening within inside of myself. That does not then therefore mean, well, because I am in the 7th ring, I am in the 7th aspect of density, I'm a 7th density being, then I start seeing orbs and fairies and Jesus and the devil and whatever the hell else. That simply means that you have gone more into balance with all it is that you are. That is all it means. So for you to be an XYZ dimensional being, we don't want to say it's neither here nor there, but it is a natural part of the evolutionary process. And to say, well, I am an XY being of density from Palladia or from Venus or wherever is simply the indication of the identification that you have with the aliens that you are closest in a harmonic with. But that doesn't mean that you are them, or perhaps even that you are from there. It simply means that there is a gravitational force to them because they are close in the representation of the universal principality that they represent to what it is that you represent. And that would be all it means. So when, again, you are moving up on that scale of enlightenment, simply meaning you are in the light, you are in the light, meaning you are lightening your load, lightening that density through light, then that means that you're moving more into a 7th, 8th, 10th, 11th understanding, like high school, yes? I'm in 1st grade, I'm in 2nd grade, I'm in 3rd grade, I'm in 10th grade, I'm in 12th grade. It is all the same. But that does not mean that it's happening outside of you, and then therefore you could see all of these things. Now, if you are the universal principality associated with that certain level of mastery, then maybe you will see orbs and fairies and unicorns and whatever else. But that doesn't mean that everybody that gets to the level and discipline in which you are at and the understanding and balancing the self means that everyone will start seeing those things. It depends on the principality that you represent, because some of us don't need to see those things. That is not what we represent, and then therefore we would not be seeing that. However, there are things that you probably wouldn't see because you're too busy seeing fairies and butterflies and things like that, that you would then therefore miss what another universal principality is able to see. So when people say that, it is simply really a matter of, I am within a certain level of balance within myself, and that means I am that much closer to the mastery of myself, the universal principality that I represent, which then therefore means that I'm able to ascend, rise within myself, and lessen the density that is within me, and be able to see both equal opposing sides and still remain within my balance within myself. Likewise, it is important to know that though you could go up in density and be a 10th, 11th, 12th dimensional being, you could also be a negative 10 dimensional being as well. Because just as you could become enlightened when you are lightening that density, you could become even more denser. So if you become even more denser, then that means you're moving more into the counterbalance of yourself. So that would be an example of if you are intuition. If you're moving more into the counterbalance of self, you're becoming more dense, and that means that you are going into doubt, and that means you could be a negative 10 density being, because you are solidified, you are concrete, cemented in doubt. So you could go up or down on the scale if you are into directional, linear understandings, but it is not just one way, and I am a 10th dimensional being from Palladia, and that's all there is. There is so much more to what that means, and when you simply say, I am a 10th dimensional being from Venus, you are not really seeing the whole side of everything that you are, and you are getting lost in the words as opposed to the message, because if someone were to ask you what in God's green earth that means, well, it's a spiritual thing. You wouldn't really understand. You'd have to be the 10th dimensional being that I am to get it. So it is important to understand that that happens within yourself. That is an evolutionary process that happens within yourself, the natural process of self that happens for all of us, whether it is in the positive or the negative. And so really it is almost like you're bragging about, when I was 5, I was this height, and now that I'm 10, I'm this height. Well, that's fantastic. I would hope that you've grown since when you were 5 to 10. Thank goodness. I'm proud of you for growing, for allowing the natural process that would have taken place anyway to take place. So it doesn't really matter, or it loses meaning if you don't understand what it means. What do you do now that you know that you're a 10th Virgo rising from Palladia in a 7th density body? What do you do with that information, and how do you move that forward in the propellation of your evolution? If that is it, you just know that you are a 10th density being and that's all there is to it, then what is the point? So if you know where it is that you stand in your evolutionary process, not that we don't want to say that it doesn't matter, but what matters more than where you know that you are in your evolutionary process is how do you continue to evolve? Because it doesn't just stop at the 10th, 11th, 12th circle, 12th density. You will know when it stops when you are in complete and utter centeredness within yourself, and you become the neutral point where both of the negative or positive, the opposing forces of yourself neutralize and come back into you in such a way that they don't even exist. Because you are in such complete balance, it is almost as if there is nothing but the balance that is within you. So let's try and get there if we can. And let's not just stop at the 10th, 11th, 12th density that you say that you are. So, as always, we're full of gratitude for you making time and space for us. We know that this will potentially help you in your continued growth and evolution of self. And now that you know what it means to be a certain density individual, how do we take that and mold that into something that is even more impressive than just the words of what it is that you believe that that means? Well wishes in all of your densities or enlightenments and where it brings you.